One of the most popular genres within roguelites is Horde Survivors, or Bullet Heavens. You know this type of game. You survive for X number of minutes, and every time you level up, you become stronger while having a handful of weapons and passives. That's the simple term, really. And this genre has evolved a lot over the past few years, since its boom in popularity thanks to Vampire Survivors. But what is the best one? Well, I don't fully know, but I know this genre has a crazy amount of games, and some of them are worse than others. But I found 25 Horde Survivors, or very close to Horde Survivors, and what I want to do is play every single one and see which one is my favorite. Some of the games I've already played a little bit of, so they might get some bias, but I'm going to give each one of these games an honest shot, and then just throw them all on a giant list for which one is the best to me. I got this idea when I saw some videos by the YouTuber JGigs, who has made some incredible content, so if you want to fill your backlog even more, be sure to check them out in the description below, and make sure to like and subscribe if you like this type of content, as it helps out the channel a lot. And now, let's play some Horde Survivors. The first Horde Survivor type game I picked up was AntiPaint, which I did actually play during a Steam Next Fest a couple years ago and added it to my wishlist, but never actually played it. But immediately, the thing that stands out the most is the aesthetic of the game. It's just colorful and nice. How's the gameplay, you ask? Well, it isn't awful. You have different starting classes that all seem to be a colorful square, but they all can start with different health, damage, movement speed, and starting items that you can use based on how much energy you have. And then the bigger thing is a starting paintbrush that all have their own unique bullet pattern. But in my time with this game, I felt that most of the brushes weren't all that strong, minus the thick brush. Oh, it's thick. Because it shot multiple projectiles with every shot and had a crazy amount of range compared to others. I liked things like the spray paint and the water gun and did try to use them a good amount, but towards the end of a run, and even on bosses, they did not suffice, as the upgrades in a run don't make you incredibly OP, or I haven't discovered any yet. The run is most of the meat and potatoes, as there is zero meta progression besides unlocking starting classes and brushes, but the gist of a run is going through canvases and killing every enemy that spawns, and then going to a shop that allows you to sell your paintings for fame, spend coins on items for buffs, or just some small activity. Your goal is to become a famous artist, and the fame meter is actually quite important, because if you win a run and you're not famous enough, you don't get to fight the true final boss, which wasn't that hard of a fight. I did do it. Overall, I love the aesthetic, and my favorite part of this game is that after a run is over, it actually saves the paintings that you made. Granted, you'll see all the formats pretty fast, and more so the color palette you pick before a run starts helps keep this unique. But the paintings actually go on your PC, and I liked one of them enough to make it my desktop background, and it still is my background. That part is extremely charming, and the core gameplay is still good, but after winning a couple times with the exact same brush because all the other brushes just weren't strong enough in my eyes, I was a little content with the game, but I would still suggest it, as it's pretty cheap like most games in this genre. But for right now, it's going to be at the top of the list at number 1 because it's the only Horde Survivor we played. Army of Ruin is a more traditional Horde Survivor in the sense that you pick a character, get kills, gain XP, gain new weapons and passives, survive X number of waves, and then have to invest resources in the meta progression. We might be hearing that a lot in this video. The meta progression itself is pretty standard, as you gain damage, speed, health, revives, the usual suspects, but it seems like some of the upgrades are endless, so if you really like this game, you can essentially play it and get stronger forever, which is really good because the amount of difficulty within the levels in this game, it's kind of insane. You have 5 areas to choose from, with each one progressively getting harder, but within each level you have 3 lengths and difficulties to choose from, with the first one only being about 10 minutes for a run, and the final one being about 20 minutes. And then within each of those levels, inside the levels, they have their own difficulty enhancers to make those levels even harder. I don't even know if that makes any sense. Hopefully I'm showing footage that makes sense. The difficulty options alone give this game more depth than AntiPaint, and I did play it a little bit more, but it just has more options to it. It has a lot of unlockable characters, all with their own start and stuff. The meta progression is pretty good. It's genuinely a pretty good game. It's not as charming aesthetically compared to AntiPaint, but it has a lot more depth and a lot more reason for me to keep playing. So as of right now, it is the best Horde Survivor that we've played, right above AntiPaint. Blood Dome 99 is coming up next, and the graphics for this one could be the most simple graphics of any game that we see on this list, but this is a unique twist on the genre. Your goal is to make $300,000 inside of a run, but every time you level up, you need to spend your money on an upgrade to buff you or one of your guns. The enemies are pretty simplistic, as you can see, they're just little white blobs, and the pacing of the game is pretty slow, but a run can end in about 15 to 20 minutes. It's a little slow to start, I will admit, as the upgrades for new perks and weapons you can find are quite pricey, but after a couple wins, you'll start making a good amount of money, as each win gets you about $800,000. If only I could have that in real life. But even with that, I felt the meta progression was a bit lacking, as the best weapons seem to be the ones I don't need to unlock. I'm looking at you, Pistol, that thing was insane. And most of the unlocks that pop up for me seem to be cosmetics, which I don't really care for too much in any game. You do have Twitch integration if you're a streamer and want your viewers to pick what upgrades you get, but after a couple wins, I was content with how much I've seen. You do have 2, potentially 3 different maps, all with different bosses, but outside of the boss, the run is extremely similar, and I will say the healing does not seem to be anywhere in this game besides a couple of perks. So if you do play this, make sure to grab the perk that restores half the health from damage you just took. The music also seems to get a little repetitive, but it's like $3 on Steam, which is well worth it after getting a few hours of enjoyment. But for now, it's going to be at the very bottom of the list, right under AntiPaint and Army of Ruin. And before we get to the next game, I would like to take a quick minute to thank the sponsor of this video, Kotama and Academy Citadel. If you didn't know, I love Metroidvania games, and Kotama and Academy Citadel is a brand new Metroidvania that respects the life of a completionist, because you can 100% the game in about 20 hours. And if you don't know, one big thing with Metroidvanias is unlocking new abilities which enhance your character's powers and movement, allowing you to easily traverse the environment and find a lot more secrets. And within the first hour of me playing this, I already had a double jump, dash, and a wall climb, which is huge for a Metroidvania. Kotama also has incredible combat that cycles you through multiple weapons that you can unlock, all with upgrades you can earn with currencies to enhance them even more. And it even has a parry mechanic to enhance combat, great upgrades throughout the game, which leads to incredible pacing, a lot of fun secrets to discover, and you can beat this game in a respectable time, all for $20 when it's not on sale. So it's a game I highly suggest, and big thank you to Kotama and Academy Citadel for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check it out in the link in the description, as it's now available. And now, back to some games. Boneraiser Minions is the next game we're playing, and I have really high hopes for this game because it's overwhelmingly positive on Steam, but what I found was a confusing, slow Horde survivor. The aesthetic with graphics and music is nice. I enjoyed the classic Game Boy feeling of this, but the core gameplay of this Horde survivor just didn't ever click for me. I'll give it credit where it's due with variety, as it does have a good amount of that, with playable characters all having their own meta progression and multiple maps that get harder and are generally kind of easy to unlock, as you just buy them with gold, and you can earn a good amount of gold inside every run for unlocks. But the inside of a run itself is where I struggle to find any enjoyment. It felt sluggish and confusing. You have a lot of different things to unlock with minions, as you don't have any weapons yourself, and the minions have their own unique attacks that can be leveled up multiple times. You can also find relics that provide passive buffs, and then spells that you can pick up to use once inside of a run. It's all kind of simple, but when I played it, I just never found myself wanting to try and get a broken build, as I assume the game has some, but there was just so many different minions to try to keep up with, and some of the things they did didn't make sense to me at all. In my few hours of playing, I was just kind of going through the ropes and kept on dying. I did unlock a good amount of meta progression in those few hours, but I was more so bored at the end and wanted to move on. I'm a little sad that I didn't enjoy this one, as a lot of people have requested it on this channel, but it seems like a lot of other people enjoy it, and maybe you will too. It's like $3 on Steam like everything else in this game, but as of right now, it's gonna be at the bottom of the list. Sorry, Boneraiser Minions, just not every game is for me. I said earlier there's a few games on this list I've played a touch more than others, and Brotato is one of them. This is a must play in my eyes if you're truly looking for some of the best games in this genre. It's one of those few games on other platforms, as it's available everywhere, and this concept is so simple but executed to perfection. You have one of 62 little potatoes to play as, granted you need to unlock nearly all of them, which is really easy to do. You have 5 difficulty enhancers to choose from and 2 different maps. Every character is unique in their own way, with starting buffs to give you an idea of what type of build you want to go for, and different starting weapon choices. Inside the run, you just survive 20 to in 90-second waves, and in between waves you get buffs based on how much you leveled up, and you can buy weapons and passive items with the money you collect inside the wave. It's such a simple game that I always love to pick up. I got all the achievements on Steam before they added DLC, and I intend to do it again on Xbox pretty soon because it's such an easy game to just play one run and then stop, as a run takes like 20 to 25 minutes. All the little blips and sound effects just soothe your smooth little brain. I do struggle to build runs at times in these types of games, but even with Brotato, it just runs so smoothly, and like every other game on this list, it's cheap at about $6. Going into this, I knew Brotato was going to be at the very top of the leaderboard, so to no surprise, it is number 1 as of right now, but the real question is, how long will it be number 1? Because next we have Choo Survivors 2. That indicates that there is a first game called Choo Survivors, and there is. It's honestly not that bad, and I played it for about 6.5 hours. So when I saw a second one was released, I thought it was a no-brainer to throw it into this video. You play as a train and you go in a straight line, killing enemies, destroying buildings for resources, and rescuing survivors. The resources and survivors are both used for upgrades inside of a run to upgrade the train and any potential weapons you have on it. You can go as fast as you want and then most likely die just like I did because I ignored all the resources. But if you take your time with a run and kind of kill and destroy everything, you will find yourself melting all the enemies towards the end of a run, potentially even melting some bosses. It's a simple concept that is a little janky with some animations and the small amount of voice acting that it has, but it's charming for what it is, I will say that. Outside of a run has a crazy amount of meta progression where you can spend your cash that you earn on upgrading damage, starting weapons, health of survivors, all the simple things in Choo Survivors. And I will say that the meta progression is kind of pricey, but the game is also kind of easy on a normal run, so you can up the difficulty if you want and probably earn more money inside of a run. I'll say I think I like the first game a little bit more than the second one, but the second one is charming for what it is, and it's not bad by any means. I can see myself putting in a few more hours in this game, so for as of right now, it's going to be right ahead of Blood Dome 99 and Boneraiser Minions, but it'll be behind AntiPaint. We know Deep Rock Galactic, a great game with friends, not too bad if you're playing by yourself, and pretty universally loved. But it has a spin-off game with Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, and let me tell you, I like this one so much more than the original DRG. It looks like your standard Horde survivor on paper. You go around killing enemies, gaining XP, gathering new weapons once you reach a certain level, and then you fight a boss at the end. But it also has a heavy focus on mining resources for meta progression and upgrading gear. This game has a lot, and I love all of it. In a standard mode run, you have 5 floors to go through as you play as one of the 4 characters, and each character has 4 different classes that specialize in different builds. My personal favorite is the Interrogator on the Driller class, as he's faster with mining, and that class has more elemental damage, which has me building around poison or fire more often. But inside the run, you collect new weapons at level 5, 15, and 25, and they get stronger whenever you level up. You pick one of 3 upgrades, and it's as simple as pie. And then on the 5th floor, you fight a boss and hopefully win. That's one of many modes. You have Weapon Mastery. If you upgrade a weapon to level 18 inside of a run, you can do the mastery for it and get extra buffs on it, depending on which difficulty of mastery you play on. You have Class Mastery, Biome Mastery to get buffs on classes and biomes that you go into. And then you also have insane meta progression outside of a run and gear for more passive buffs. It can be a bit tedious if you try to get every achievement, as it has 300, but the amount of variety and difficulty enhancers that go all the way up to Hazard 5 will have you hooked on this game for a very long time. It's hard to decide where it goes on this list, mostly because of Brotato, but after thinking about it for a little bit, I'm going to put it at number 1 ahead of Brotato because I absolutely love this game and it's been my go-to game for months. So as of right now, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, you're number 1. Funguys Swarm is up next, and the first thing I can say about this game is it's pretty damn colorful and bright. But the core combat and outside of a run is definitely more what you expect out of this genre. My first few runs, I stunk and died a lot. After those runs, I get a little bit of progression with upgrades to slightly improve, and then the next run gets a little bit better. That's the first couple hours of this game, and it works well as the runs aren't crazy long. A win and run has you surviving for 15 minutes before a final boss, so a run is 20 to 25 minutes, I'd say, if it's successful. And inside of those hopefully win and runs, you kill enemies, they drop XP or potentially power-ups to make you faster or stronger for a short period of time, and then you level up and collect new weapons and passives. And the weapons can become stronger every few levels and get buffed even more. Similar similar to an overclock in DRGS. The inside of a run is extremely simple, but it is fun. Where the game shines even more is the variety and the progression outside of a run. You have multiple forms of meta progression, all with different currencies you get inside of a run. You have character buffs like more HP, more move speed, more damage on your skill cards, and those cost due. And then you have more general upgrades that cost purple mushrooms. I don't have a better name for them. They're literally purple mushrooms. Look at them. And these upgrades are typical things like rerolls, an extra dash, death defiances, or the ability to bring more treelands inside of a run, which are little friends that follow you around and give you little extra buffs.
But wait, there's more!
With Ambers, we have start and weapon upgrades, as the game has multiple start and weapons, and you can slightly buff all of them. You can also unlock multiple different start and characters, which is nice. For Horde survivors, I feel this type of progression is ideal as you want to become more powerful and get those busted runs, or be able to play more difficult runs for more rewards, and this game does it extremely well. A win and run early on gives you a good amount of currency for a couple upgrades, but the amount of variety it gives you makes you want to come back and play more, especially with how quick a run is. There are multiple maps that you can unlock, and each map can become harder once you clear it once, and after close to 3 hours, I got a good amount of meta progression and even cleared the first couple maps. But one negative thing they have that I'm not the biggest fan of is the devil. You can talk to the devil inside your hub area, but if you take an item from him inside of a run, your run becomes harder until you spend your currency to lower it. I feel giving me the option to raise and lower this freely is more ideal, but I will also admit it's not as noticeable as you'd think. Overall, this game is well executed for an early access title. It's in early access as of me writing this script and recording this video, but it has all the right pieces to become one of the bigger names in this saturated genre. I was extremely impressed with this game. Everything about it was just so charming. So as of right now, I'm gonna say this is the third best Horde survivor that we've played, right after Brotato. Glyphical Titan Survival was next, and is one of the most unique games on here, probably the most unique, as I feel this game can be one part fun and one part educational. More so, it can help you become a more consistent typer, potentially. Here's the gist. You can play Trials or Endless mode. Trials have you face 3 bosses, and between every boss, you have an endless amount of words coming at you, and your goal is to just type them out. Killing words can drop bonuses like extra loot to buff your weapons, more score, the ability to freeze enemies, and they also drop XP, which levels you up to level up whatever weapons you have. I was not that good at this game, which I guess can be a reality check that I should play it more as I can become a better typer and more consistent typer, but me stinking doesn't take away the enjoyment that the game provides. I will say in some boss fights, it can be a little stressful and overwhelming because you have all these words slowly coming at you, and then the boss has some type of modifier to make them harder, and then after that, your weapons could kill a word as you're typing it out, and it messes you up, and then your combo is gone, but that's a small thing, I guess. That can make it a little stressful, but when you get into the flow state of hitting so many words in a row, it feels pretty good. And if you're a much better typer than me, it has some difficulty enhancers that sound pretty brutal, but the harder you make it, the more augmentations you're allowed to equip, which are just essentially buffs you unlock with coins that you earn from playing the game. And then of course you have Endless mode, which I didn't play, but we can assume what Endless mode is. It's in the name. Based on the potential benefits of this game, of it actually improving your life with typing, and the genuine fun that I've had, I'm gonna confidently put this right under Funguys Swarm and ahead of Army of Ruin. It was so unique and still really fun, and I didn't get carpal tunnel because my hands aren't the greatest, but it was a good time. God of Weapons is next, and it's more similar to Brotato than your typical Horde survivor, but it still has some similarities. Multiple characters with multiple starting classes, check. Meta progression that is still kind of expensive, but not too bad, check. Fun runs, check. The runs are fun, but like I said, they're similar to Brotato where you survive a small amount of time. It starts at like 20 seconds per floor, and by the end of the run, it's up to 60. And after each floor, you get to unlock more backpack space depending on how many level ups you received. And the backpack space will remind you of Resident Evil with its setup, which did draw me to this game initially. It's really simple. You have magic power, melee power, tons of items you can unlock outside of runs that can lead to one of many build types. The amount of different characters will keep the replayability high, and it does have some difficulty enhancers if you want to make it a little bit harder and unlock more resources for progression. It's not the best game on this list, as Brotato just feels a lot more natural to me, but God of Weapons still does it well. So I'm gonna put it right ahead of Army of Ruin, as I can see myself playing the game a little bit more, and it is unique enough to stand out on its own. Here is one of the best Horde survivors, and I'm confident in saying this before I even talk about it, and it's Halls of Torment. I've been playing this game on and off ever since it was released into early access years ago. I interviewed one of the developers on my podcast, which will be back one day, hopefully. And it's just an incredible game that has so much to offer. The gameplay is a Horde Survivor. You pick one of 6 maps, one of many characters, all with a different start and weapon and different buffs. And then when you kill enemies, you level up and you can have up to 6 passives in a run, which are essentially your other weapons. The diversity in this game is incredible, and it might start a little bit slow as runs do take 30 minutes. As like most games in this genre though, the meta progression is pretty simplistic with more damage, health, revives, the usual suspects, but it just feels so good. It's a game where the audio design allows you to feel sucked into the game. The immersion just feels great, and it will remind you of an old school Diablo game if that's your thing. But it's a Horde Survivor. It does have enhancers to make runs harder and shorter while making you and enemies move faster, which gives the game better pacing. And once you unlock it, you most likely won't take that speed off. And the general difficulty enhancer I like to see is the agony level. With agony, the game gets harder based on how you're playing. So if you start getting hit, the game will become slightly easier. I love this Horde Survivor, and like I said, it's one of the games that I have played a good amount for years on and off, but I'm gonna put it right ahead of Brotato at number 2. It was hard to choose between those two, but Halls of Torment, it just does it so perfect for me. Jotunnslayer Hordes of Hel. This is one that I was a little more excited to play because I have heard good things about it, and I wasn't left disappointed. But why is this the Call of Duty of Horde Survivors? As in, it's about 25 gigabytes to install. The 24 other games on this list are a total of 31.958 gigabytes, so we'll just round that up to 32 gigabytes. 32 gigabytes to install 24 games, and then this game is 25 gigabytes. That's just madness, okay? But the core gameplay, guess what it is? It's a Horde Survivor like everything else. You kill enemies, gain XP, get some power-ups, yada yada yada. But this game's power comes from the Nordic gods, which is kinda cool, and there's a good amount of gods and playable characters to unlock, and every character has their own unique skill tree to make them stronger, as the difficulty in this game definitely increases pretty fast. You have like 7 maps to choose from, but every map it seems like you need to unlock hard mode or harder by clearing the map initially on normal mode or easy if it's the first map, and I like that. The highest time limit for a run I've seen is 20 minutes total, which is a great length in my opinion, literally perfect length in this genre. And you can unlock modifiers for runs by doing certain tasks, and one of the modifiers has you increase the speed of the game, just like Halls of Torment, to make a run go faster once you have a lot more things unlocked. Right there, the run modifiers, characters, maps, difficulty, it's all packaged well, and I like that inside of a run, it's not just become super overpowered and stand there, but instead it's become super overpowered and do quests to get a true ending for a run. You can survive 10, 15, or 20 minutes and still get a victory, but if you do 3, 4, or 5 quests, depending on what the difficulty you're playing on is, you can find a Jotun, a monster thing that unlocks after doing all the quests, and if you actually kill that thing, you get a true win in the run. One negative thing I found though is I feel the difficulty might scale quite fast compared to the progression you unlock, as after a run the gold you earn converts into skill points, but to counteract that, you can remove skill points and still retain all of them on any character. So before a run, you just remove all your skill points on one character and throw them onto whoever you're going to play next. Also, each character has cosmetic skins and weapons that you can unlock, which is nice. Outside of the generic Horde Survivorness, which is what I expect with every game on this list, it's packaged well and does everything pretty good. General meta progression, variety inside of runs, difficulty enhancers, Jotunnslayer does it all well. So with that, I'm going to confidently put it at number 5 on this list, right under Funguys Swarm. It's the 5th best one so far. It's time for the latest big Horde Survivor, and it's the one that I've recently committed the most time to before making this video, and it's Megabonk. And I'll be honest, I don't really like this game. I didn't like it that much before starting this project, but had to include it because I will play it again for this project. But why didn't I like it? It just felt way too grindy and too memey for me, if that makes sense. The big thing is the grinding. I can get past some memes even if the humor is not something I typically enjoy, but the game just felt so goddamn grindy. How many times am I gonna say that? What am I, a skateboarder? It has multiple maps and a lot of characters with okay progression, I might add, and every map has 3 tiers to it and challenges, which is nice, but the tier 2 for the forest map, which is the easiest map, is such a jump in difficulty. Probably the biggest jump I've seen in any of these Horde Survivors. You could just say, oh, just play the first map all the time and it'll get good. Yeah, I played the first tier of Forest 1 for what seems like 10 hours, and even after all that, I could still barely comprehend the difficulty spike. It just wasn't fun. This game was awesome for 3 hours, but after that, it's just so the same. I appreciate the music, the art style, animations, it's all well done, and there's a lot of love put into this game, but the gameplay is just not for me, and the intense grind just puts me off from Megabonk. I'll never understand why so many people flock to this game, but I did play it again just for this video, and lo and behold, this game is still the exact same as it was when I last played it months ago. Tier 2 is way too strong. Tier 1 is boring. I do like a few things with Megabonk, but the core gameplay is just not it for me. It's just something I can't get into. I can understand why others love it, but for me, it's gonna be towards the bottom of this list, right under Blood Dome 99. But I'd rather play Megabonk than Boneraiser Minions. Sorry, Boneraiser. The next game I only played one run of because I felt I knew everything it offered after that one run, and it's Mobmania. I got half the achievements in a 30-minute run, and this game is interesting to say the least. The biggest selling point is that this game has co-op. Not many other games on this list have that option, so that alone does give it a little edge. But it felt really bare bones and not too unique. First, the game does have a crazy amount of characters to choose from, and you can unlock those at any time. Same with equipable trinkets. It has a lot that you can unlock whenever. Granted, you have to have enough gold, but you can only equip one trinket at a time, and they slightly change your run. You then have badges, which you can equip to give more slight buffs, and you can brew potions and buy cards for some reason. I just kind of ignored that. I assume it's just more buffs. Inside of a run was kind of basic. You kill a bunch of mobs, level up, power up one of your weapons or passives, or character buffs, and kill things. It wasn't all that exciting, and there doesn't seem to be any traditional meta progression after a run, so that gold you earn can just be spent on one of the many characters. I will say the game gives you 7,000 gold to start, so you can buy a few things here and there, and I thought that was kind of odd. But then I saw that a 25-minute run, I only gained a little over 1,000 gold. So if you're trying to unlock everything, it seems extremely grindy. Mobmania, I don't see myself playing a lot outside of this video, but I at least knew what I was doing in this game, so it's ahead of Boneraiser Minions, but still under Megabonk. It was just, whatever, you know? Monsters Till Midnight is next, and you want to know something about this genre? I feel like early on when playing a game, you can determine if you're gonna like it, and you can get a sense of how grindy a game may be, and how rewarding the grind could be with achievements or progression. In the game, Jotunnslayer is a good example of a game I felt the progression was good to start, and would keep me tied for more than a handful of hours. Monsters Till Midnight is an example of a game that I felt sick of within 30 minutes. The graphics, music, and little animations are all top-notch, and seeing them on the Steam page made me excited to try it. But when I got into the game, I died immediately. Or, well, in a few minutes. And thought, okay, we have some challenge here. But what led after that was the same monotonous runs that just felt like the game did not respect you. Your goal in a run is to survive 20 minutes, a simple concept that we see in all of these games. But this game severely lacks in variety in the first few runs and makes it way too hard. After a handful of levels, it feels like the XP gaining grinds to a halt, and you can find yourself running around just trying to dodge enemies or find an extra coin so you can potentially get one upgrade in meta progression to improve one stat by 5%. The meta progression is just fine, but it also feels so grindy for how unrewarding it is. The first upgrades take a couple hundred coins, and that's fine. And then it bounces up to 600, and you're lucky if you get 200 to 300 coins in a single run. I know I died early, so maybe you can get more coins if you actually live, but it's just running around trying to survive, maybe killing an enemy every once in a while, because the scaling is just unreal with difficulty, and it has no difficulty enhancers on. The good news is you can unlock other characters to potentially change your run. But here's the kicker. All of the 4 starting characters have the same ability with a dodge roll. They all just have a different starting weapon. And it's a weapon you're gonna get inside of your run regardless because the game lacks variety in the early game, which in turn will make you so bored because you're just constantly dying. Sure, I could grind it out for hours and see the first boss with the same 6 weapons and slowly chip away at the meta progression, or I could go play a game that that respects my time. I don't need to win every run, but I want to feel like I at least have a chance in the beginning. This game was a big letdown for me as I had such high expectations for it, but it's going to be at the very bottom of the list, right under Boneraiser Minions. But maybe one of you will love it. And my god, the M category in this game, every game that starts with the letter M has been pretty disappointing, which is kind of surprising, but also kind of funny at the same time. The next game does not start with the letter M, but it's an insult that we should bring back, and it's Nimrods. This one felt similar to Monsters Till Midnight for the first run, where it just felt sluggish, but this game actually has a good reason to be sluggish, and it starts slower than most for the first few runs, and that's because of the drone. So I died pretty fast, but then learned that every run, your one gun is saved, and can be equipped onto a drone, held in storage, or sold for currency. And given the drone the gun, starts your next run with essentially 2 guns. One for you, and one for the drone. And the drone's gun levels up exactly the way you leveled up that gun on whatever run you used it. So essentially, you just keep giving the drone a stronger gun. And the last run I played for this game, I actually won thanks to an insanely strong machine gun. So in my next run, the drone should be unstoppable, right? But this game is similar to all the others where you kill enemies, gain XP, and you level up. But instead of having a ton of passives and weapons, you only get one weapon, and then you just go. I do appreciate the level up screen showing you your stat changes on the side as you decide which upgrade you want. Most of Horde Survivors do that to some regard, but I feel like this one is implemented very, very well. It's a nice little bonus, and with one gun, you can become pretty strong with the right upgrades. My winning run had me survive 25 minutes, and I fought a multitude of mini bosses, but the final boss was a bit anticlimactic, as it seems I was very OP, but it was still enjoyable. You can unlock blueprints in your runs for new augments and have a lot of missions that can provide resources. The resources I'm still on the fence about and wonder why they're fully here, but it's nice to have another collectible. The only thing I've seen them used for so far is upgrading some badges you can put on your character, but that section still kind of confuses me. You do have multiple characters to play as, but only one map, it seems like, but it is a pretty big map if that counts for anything. It's still in early access as of making this video, so we'll see how this game progresses, but I enjoyed it overall and can see myself picking it up for a few more hours to see how the progression keeps going. Now, I like Nimrods as a whole, but I will say it does feel a little bit basic and some stuff just seems a little confusing, but overall, it's still a good Horde Survivor that I could see myself putting some time into, so I'm going to put it right under AntiPaint, but ahead of Choo Survivors, smack dab right in the middle. Here we have Noobs Are Coming. That's what people say when they see me playing Arc Raiders. A downed raider, I'm coming to save you. If I can get over there, I will save you. I think I have a defib. Oh no! But this game has clear inspiration from Brotato. Is it as good as Brotato? Well, no, I'll just be completely honest. It's not. There's a few similarities. Gameplay has you survive X number of waves, with waves increasing in time and difficulty the further you get into a run, and in between waves you boost your stats from leveling up and shop for items. The graphics are similar, the amount of difficulty enhancers is also 5, and the amount of unlockable characters seems to be quite high, just like Brotato. While it's clear it shares quite a bit of similarities, I won't write it off right away. I enjoyed my time, and one of my runs I just had minions do literally everything for me, but it does feel like there's a good amount of shovelware items. I guess that's the best way to describe it. Just items that I won't ever take, but they're fun to look at in the shop and think, someone out there probably likes this. It's the same thing I think when I shop for Xbox games and see some slop. Is this game bad? Goodness, no, I don't think any game I'm talking about in this video is bad yet. Some not for me, sure, and maybe some poor design choices here and there, but this game is made with love. Hopefully. I'd say if you yearn for Brotato-style games and you are done with Brotato, give this one a shot. It's simple enough that anyone can win. I'm just confused on why one of the few songs in this game has the developer's name in the beginning of it. Yeah, you see, that's the dev. That's the dev right on Steam. That's a weird choice. Now, I love Brotato-style games. None of them are better than Brotato because they're called Brotato-style games for a reason, but Noobs Are Coming is definitely the best iteration of a Brotato-style game that I've seen, and with that said, I'm going to put it right ahead of God of Weapons, which I didn't expect going into this, but hey, I'm not complaining. So next we have another game that's kind of unique, and it seems like a more fleshed out Blood Dome, and it's Nuclear Gladiators 3000. The scenario has you playing in a game show and has 4 chapters total. I've only beaten chapter 1, but chapter 2 seems to be the same setup, except it has hazards on the terrain. But the setup has you survive in 3 minutes in a single round, and inside the round you kill enemies to gain XP and level up your gun or passive buffs. But you also want to destroy obstacles to please sponsors and keep the audience entertained. Doing both of those those will reward you with random events or gaining a new perk or weapon. Chapter 1 had 5 waves total, with the first 4 being 3 minutes and the last one being 5, but housing a final boss you need to kill. And in between, you can heal slightly with infusions, gamble on a roulette wheel to potentially gain buffs, you get cards to spin the wheel inside of a 3-minute wave by killing a mini boss, and you can get general upgrades with the coins that you find or add enhancers for money. Overall, the run setup is nice, and while some things are generic with the genre, I can applaud trying a couple new things and adding your own twist. Blood Dome 99 did it well where it was a game show, but this one just feels more in-depth and fleshed out with that idea. It does feel a tad grindy with the crazy amount of potential upgrades with meta progression, but even after playing for an hour, I only had 2 things unlocked for meta progression: the buff damage and max HP. You need to complete challenges to unlock the meta progression, which is sponsors in this game, and while it's fun, there are a lot of them, I have a slight concern about it being kind of grindy in the long run, but also becoming a little easy after a certain threshold. You can unlock harder difficulties, which does ease that slight concern a little bit. With all that said, it was still a game that I enjoyed, even if it has the craziest name with Nuclear Gladiators 3000, but I can see myself investing a little bit more time into this, so I'm going to put it right behind Jotunnslayer for the time being. Early games were fun, and I'm excited to see what more it brings to the table. Pesticide Not Required is next, and it's another Horde Survivor classic. Well, it's kind of generic in terms of meta progression, but the core inside of a run has you focus on more than just killing enemies, as you are also in charge of a farm, which is how you get your weapons. A run consists of 15 days, and after each day you can buy seeds from the merch ant, nice pun there, and those seeds are food for XP or seeds for weapons. Like most Horde survivors, you can have 5 weapons total, and then some of them even have evolutions if you max the level out. You can also mine random rocks that show up to get extra gold to spend in the shop, and fish in a couple ponds for more XP. It's kind of simple, but it's one of those games I just kind of like. I did play it an okay amount before this video and did get all the achievements. You have 4 different seasons to choose from for maps, but in reality, it's all the same area essentially with just different aesthetics. And you also have 4 difficulty enhancers, which does make the game quite hard. It does everything well and is unique enough to stand out to me with the farming aspect, a crazy amount of starting frogs to choose from, all with different starting abilities, and your simple but reliable meta progression. I've never had a bad time playing Pesticide Not Required, and with that said, I'm going to confidently put it right under Jotunnslayer, but ahead of Nuclear Gladiators 3000. I know Nuclear Gladiator 3000 just got on the list, but it already got bumped down a slot. Sorry, Nuclear. I know which game wins the award for the most f***ed up looking enemies, because what the hell is that thing? Weird looking enemies aside, this game was actually incredible. The first run is a little confusing because it kind of just throws you at the game without any tutorial, but you don't need a tutorial for a Horde survivor. But once you find your first set of enemies, it's full steam ahead with action. The core run has you killing enemies, leveling up, and getting enhancements, whether it be buffs on your character or new weapons. It's what you expect. The enemies are crazy looking, the movement isn't anything spectacular, but the more I played, the more I was just getting into it. And then we have the bosses. I'll openly say I haven't even gotten past the second boss, but these boss fights are some of the best that I've seen from all of these games that we've discussed. The boss fights turn this game into a bullet hell with how much you have to dodge and weave your way through it. It's genuinely pretty hard with how slow you can be, and you'll die the first couple attempts just like me. Maybe. But it's so easy to just run it right back immediately, as the game catches your attention so fast with what seems like a story as you're trying to figure out why you're a floating robot in space. The inside of a run is great with some story, which is a nice surprise in this genre, and then incredible boss fights to back up well-executed Horde Survivor gameplay. And outside of a run has just simple meta progression. You level up after a run and get a skill point and can invest it anywhere you want. And you can take your points away anytime to reinvest them anywhere else you want. The game did look interesting when I first saw it, but with how much I love those boss fights, I 100% see myself coming back to this game when time permits. I also want to see what the story is as well. And because of that, I have no problem putting this game ahead of Jotunnslayer, which is still a fantastic game, but Picayune Dreams is also just another fantastic game. Holy shit, there's 2 cakes! Here we have Rocket Rats. This is probably one of the simplest games on this list and will not have as much longevity compared to others, but those few hours you play this game will be incredible. You have one of many rats to choose from. They're all pretty simple to unlock. You just need to fully upgrade a certain card to level 7 inside of a run, and every rat has its own skill tree, which is also pretty easy to fill out. Now, what's inside of a run? A whole lot of simple dopamine. It's a good thing, really. You survive 30 waves, and a wave is over once you kill a certain number of enemies, and you only have one weapon. After each wave, you pick a simple upgrade card, more damage, chance for poison, more ammo. Well, it's up to you. You get one card after each wave and you just survive. It's so simple, but those few hours are so enjoyable. This game felt like such a palate cleanse for me with how much fun I was having. When you win a run, you will get a good amount of cheese to spend on simple passive buffs that go on all of your characters. You can only have one equipped per row, and to spend on meta progression. I will admit, you will not play this game for a crazy amount of time compared to some others on this list, but I found so much joy in it for just a few hours that it outranks a lot of games just based on how much enjoyment this simple concept was to me. Picayune Dreams might have just gotten to number 5 on this list, but it's getting bumped down to number 6 because I enjoyed Rocket Rats that much. It's such a simple concept that's executed to perfection. And looking at this list, it's getting quite stacked with a lot of incredible games now. Rogue Genesia is next here, and this is another one I've had my eye on for a bit, so this video was a great excuse to finally tackle it. And early on, I was very, very impressed with how this game felt and the general setup of a run. You have 2 different modes. One is endless, and I did not touch that. We can assume what endless mode means. But the other mode has you pick your path based on what you want to do next. Granted, most of the paths are just fighting enemies, but every fight could give you a different task, like survive an X amount of time or kill an X number of enemies, and potentially could give you optional quests as well, like breaking 5 crates, and doing the optional quest gives you bonus rewards. Rewards are typically a free upgrade for one of your many passive buffs or items, the same things you upgrade inside of these runs as you level up, and you also get gold, extra XP, or even passive items to buff you. The general setup is something that I like with this genre, and I cleared the first couple of maps as each map adds an extra zone, or so far adds an extra zone and gets harder. One zone could take about 15 minutes or so, and then once the run is over, you get to spend soul points on meta progression. And the meta progression is where my biggest concern lies. The graphics are some of my favorite that I've seen in this genre with the style that it has, and the general gameplay is at the top of any Horde survivor. It just feels good. It has a lot of variety with buffs, not a crazy amount of weapons, but the pacing in which it powers you feels incredible and fair at first. But meta progression is so weird. Each zone gets harder, and in the options we can see how many zones there are. There's a lot, and they get harder each time, but they all have their own meta progression. And the amount of resources it costs to upgrade by Zone 3 is kind of insane, and a Zone 3 run was so long that I ended up quitting and just accepting death because it was well over an hour, and that's too long for my liking for this genre. The early game is tremendous, but my biggest negative quirk is how expensive the meta progression is in the mid game, and I assume late game with the high difficulty enhancers. After my 1 hour run, I was able to get like 3 or 4 upgrades, and the amount they buff you doesn't make it seem like it's worth the amount it actually cost. Rogue Genesia is a game that started off incredibly well, and I had high confidence it would be in the top 5 at the start of my playtime, but the further I got, I became more cautiously optimistic with it, with how much grinding and how repetitive the game might become. But because of that, it's going to go right behind Jotunnslayer and ahead of Pesticide Not Required. I would still suggest picking it up if you like this genre. It was still a good time. Okay, Soulstone Survivors. This is kind of a big one in terms of one of the more popular survivors and the amount of shit in this game. It's a little overwhelming in my eyes, but that can be a good thing if you get really hooked into it. You'll have what seems like an endless amount of content. It's one of those games I have played in the past before this video, like in 2023, but this game starts off incredibly addicting as the runs aren't long. You can get insanely OP and are always unlocking new things. But then you get further into the game and it starts to become a little grindy, like most Horde survivors it seems like, but those first 10 to 15 hours are generally a blast. You have a good amount of classes to unlock, and then all those classes have different starting effects that you can unlock when you get them to a certain level and have enough resources. It can be a bit grindy at that point, but that's okay, it's not super early game. You also have runes to unlock, which give you some buffs inside of a run. You can only hold a certain number of runes, so keep that in mind. And then the big one is the skill tree. It starts off kind of small at first, but then, holy shit. Yeah, Every class has their own skill tree after you destroy the tiny little skill tree, and to unlock skill points for them, you just have to play them inside of a run. It's not that bad. It's your generic Horde Survivor run. Kill enemies, get XP, level up, walk around in a circle while killing nothing because everything is so goddamn strong because everything's scaled. It's kind of similar to the last game, Rogue Genesia, where I'm afraid it becomes really repetitive after a certain amount of time. But even with that, I still think this game is worth the money because 10 to 15 hours of genuine fun and joy is worth the price of admission. I don't see myself playing this game too much in the future with how much I already know of it, but it's still one of the top dogs in the genre, I can say with confidence. But this might be a hot take, but I'm going to put it right under Rogue Genesia, even though we just talked about how grindy that game is. I still see myself playing Rogue Genesia a little bit more than Soulstone Survivors. But Soulstone Survivors is still fun, and you should still check it out. You've been waiting for this one, right? Right? It's the catalyst of this entire genre. It's not the first Horde Survivor to exist, but I hope everyone can agree it's the game that pushed this genre to actually be relevant. Vampire Survivors does it all well. You have an insane amount of characters to choose from with some crazy collaborations from other indie games, all with a unique start and weapon. You have a good variety with difficulty enhancers and maps, something I always love, and you even have seamless co-op to play with friends. It also added some single player mode that I have never played, but that's cool to have. You have a near endless amount of content and it's all incredibly fun. I don't play Vampire Survivors as much as I used to because the genre has evolved so much and some games just do it better to me, but every time I pick it up, I'm reminded of why this genre even exists in the first place. This game is good. A run is fun, dopamine filled, and destroys your bitrate if you stream the game. The audio design, which is something I haven't discussed for all of the games, but in this game, it's top notch. I don't really have anything negative to say. Vampire Survivors is not my favorite Horde Survivor. I'll just say that right now. Over the past few years, this genre has had a lot of incredible games made, but I will still say with confidence that Vampire Survivors is one of the best games in the genre still after all these years. I'm putting it right after Brotato at number 4. These top 4 games are all incredibly well made and they're games that I genuinely love. Now we finally have the last game on our list, and it's yet another zombie survivor. Immediately, some people will say this game looks like a mobile ad, and yeah, to an extent, I can agree with that. But unlike those mobile games, this game is actually pretty fun. I wasn't even able to win in my time playing for this video, because I'll admit at this time I was getting a little tired of Horde Survivors, but it still has a good amount to it that I felt I was ready to talk about it, and properly rank it. But inside of a run, you can pick one of many characters who all have their own unique skills, passive weapons, and main weapons. It's in early access as of this video, but does have 8 characters, with 3 of them being available at the start. And in the run, you just kill zombies, get XP to level up and buff your weapons, and you can actually recruit 2 other characters to play with you. So in a run, you can have 3 weapons, 3 passive weapons like a grenade or a floating saw blade, and 3 weapons that are on a longer cooldown, which was a nice twist in my opinion. At the end of every run, all the characters get progression and level up, which I really appreciate, and then they all have their own skill tree to buff their weapons, and the higher the level you get, the more unlocks you have. Right there, I love the progression of this game, and 100% see myself diving into this one so much more because I do have a soft spot for zombies. As in, I like to destroy them in Left 4 Dead 2, or watch a zombie movie every once in a while. It's a genre that I love, and yet another zombie survivor combines 2 genres that I love with Horde Survivors and zombies. The progression kept me engaged, and even a good amount of difficulty enhancers and modes for each map. 100% I can say with confidence, this is a game that I will invest more time into in the future, no matter what, whether it be on Xbox or PC or Steam Deck or whatever. But the real question is, where does it fall on this list? After careful consideration, I'm gonna sneak it into the top 10 right ahead of Rogue Genesia, right at number 9. It was really just that fun to me. And that's my list of the top 25 Horde Survivors. Playing all of these games made me realize how many gems are actually in this genre. Like looking at rank 19 as Nimrods, and you'd think, oh, 19, that's not that good. But in reality, that game was also tremendous to play. Every game on this list is worth the money to someone. This subgenre of roguelites is one you can find yourself tired of if you overindulge on it, but it's a great genre to pick up a game and just lose a little bit of time to. because most of the runs on these games take like 20 to 30 minutes. Now, is my list the definitive best list? Of course not. This is just my opinion on 25 games in this genre, and I missed a lot of games in this genre because it's never ending. So let me know your favorite in the comments that I may have missed, and maybe one day I'll be able to check it out. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.